In the late 1980s, the FBI made a move that stunned the firearms world. After years of relying on revolvers and 9mm pistols, the Bureau announced a new direction. The 10mm auto would become its official duty cartridge. Contracts were signed. New handguns were ordered. Press releases promised a major leap forward in law enforcement firepower. Then, only 3 years later, the whole program fell apart. Quietly and with plenty of embarrassment, the FBI began phasing out those pistols. Many of the brand new guns barely made it out of storage. So what happened? How did the most powerful federal law enforcement agency in America adopt the hardest-hitting semi-auto handgun cartridge of its era, then walk away from it almost immediately? The 10mm story did not start with the FBI. It began in the early 1970s when Whit Collins asked a question that should have been obvious. Why had nobody built a true .40 caliber cartridge for semi-auto pistols? Collins started experimenting with a round he called the 40 G&A. He loaded a 180-grain bullet into a shortened .30 Remington rifle case. Fired from a modified Browning high power, that prototype pushed roughly 1,100 feet per second. It was fast, flat shooting, and hit hard. But the industry was not ready for it. Collins's concept faded for a while until Jeff Cooper, the father of modern pistolcraft, brought the idea back to life. Cooper wanted something bigger and more serious. A semi-auto cartridge that could come close to 41 Magnum revolver power. His vision was a 200-grain bullet moving at 1,200 feet per second. That is where Norma entered the story. The Swedish ammunition company turned the idea into reality, and the 10mm auto was born. Early Norma loads were extremely hot enough to punish slides and frames. The ammunition was later toned down to more manageable levels, but the legend had already started. A cartridge that powerful needed a handgun built to handle it. The first serious attempt was the Bren Ten, a strengthened CZ-75 style pistol from Dornhaus and Dixon. The idea was solid, but the business was not. Dornhaus and Dixon quickly ran into financial trouble and produced fewer than 2,000 pistols before going bankrupt. The 10mm could have disappeared right there. But in 1987, Colt released the Delta Elite, a 1911 chambered in 10mm. It was not perfect, but it gave the cartridge a lifeline and kept it alive long enough for history to catch up. Then came April 11, 1986, the Miami Shootout. 8 FBI agents engaged 2 violent suspects. In less than 5 minutes, more than 150 rounds were fired. When it ended, 2 agents were dead, 5 were wounded, and the suspects had stayed in the fight far longer than anyone expected. One detail shook the Bureau hard. A 9mm bullet struck suspect Michael Platt, entered his chest, and stopped about 1 inch short of his heart. He kept fighting and went on to kill 2 agents. The FBI realized its emphasis on bullet expansion had missed the bigger issue. What they needed was penetration, deep, consistent penetration capable of driving through barriers, bone, and muscle under real-world stress. That conclusion led them straight toward a cartridge already sitting on the market, the 10mm auto. In 1989, after extensive testing, the FBI officially adopted the Smith Wesson Model 1076. Built on Smith & Wesson's large .45 ACP frame, the pistol used a 4.25-inch barrel, stainless steel construction, and a frame-mounted decocker similar to a SIG. On paper, it looked like the answer. The FBI ordered 9,500 pistols. In practice, it became a disaster. Slides locked up so badly that some agents had to hammer them open. The gun weighed 46 ounces unloaded, heavier than a 1911, and it felt awkwardly front-heavy. The grip was too large for many agents, making basic controls hard to reach. Even with reduced power 10mm loads, recoil was rough on trainees who were expected to fire 5,000 rounds during training. The 1076 was not just a duty pistol, it became a burden. While the FBI struggled with the 1076, Smith & Wesson engineers tried a different solution. They took the Bureau's reduced 10mm load, shortened the case, and created the 40 Smith & Wesson. It delivered nearly the same practical performance with less recoil, greater capacity, and the ability to fit smaller pistol frames. At the 1990 SHOT Show, Smith & Wesson unveiled the new cartridge alongside its own pistol, the Model 4006. But Glock was paying attention. With brilliant timing, Gaston Glock adapted the new cartridge to the existing Glock 17 size frame. Within months, the Glock 22 reached the market, beating Smith & Wesson to their own concept. Police departments loved the formula. It was about the same size as a 9mm, offered more perceived stopping power, and came at a lower cost. Glock undercut Smith & Wesson aggressively on pricing, and law enforcement contracts started rolling in. By the early 1990s, the message was clear. Of the 9,500 Smith & Wesson 1076 pistols ordered, only about 2,400 were delivered. The FBI quietly shelved the rest. By 1997, the Bureau abandoned 10mm completely and adopted the Glock 22 and Glock 23 in 40 Smith & Wesson. For law enforcement, 10mm looked finished, but in the civilian market it found a second life. Hunters, backpackers, An outdoorsman recognized its flat trajectory, deep penetration, and magnum-level power. Glock answered with the Glock 20, a high-capacity 10mm pistol that handled recoil better than many steel-frame guns. Later came the compact Glock 29, Gen 4 improvements, and optics-ready MOS models. Other manufacturers followed, including SIG, Springfield Ruger, and Smith Wesson, all bringing 10mm pistols back for a growing market. The 10mm was not dead. It had simply found the shooters who actually needed it. The Miami Shootout did more than change the FBI's guns. It changed how America thought about handgun ballistics. In 1987, the FBI held the Wound Ballistics Workshop and helped establish a new standard. Handgun bullets needed to penetrate 10 to 12 inches in gelatin to be considered effective. Expansion was useful, but penetration became mandatory. That thinking sparked new cartridges and experiments. Whit Collins revisited his old idea and created the Centimeter, a shortened 10mm case with reduced recoil and strong performance. It never became a major commercial success, but it directly helped inspire the .40 Smith & Wesson, which went on to dominate police holsters for 2 decades. The Smith & Wesson 1076 was supposed to rebuild the company's prestige. Instead, it damaged it further. Mechanical failures, heavy weight, and poor ergonomics made the pistol infamous. Agents even nicknamed it the Smith & Wesson AK, meaning also known as junk. Meanwhile, Glock surged. By 1997, the FBI officially moved to Glock pistols in .40 Smith & Wesson. Police departments across the country followed. For the next 20 years, Glock and the .40 caliber ruled American law enforcement. Eventually, the FBI returned to 9mm because modern ammunition had improved so much. But the 10mm auto never disappeared. Today it thrives in a different role, not in standard duty holsters, but in hunting camps, backcountry rigs, and survival kits. The 10mm auto was never truly a failure. It was ahead of its time and badly matched to the average duty pistol program. For average recruits and high-volume training, it was simply too much. But for dedicated shooters, hunters, and professionals who needed maximum power from a semi-auto handgun, it made perfect sense. Jeff Cooper's vision of a flat-shooting, hard-hitting combat cartridge still lives. Not as a universal law enforcement round, but as a mission-specific tool for people who train seriously and carry with purpose. The FBI may have walked away from it, but the 10mm auto survived politics, bad contracts, mechanical problems, and decades of doubt. Today it stands right where it belongs, powerful, respected, and in the hands of shooters who understand what it is built to do.